You're listening to Eagles post-game analysis here at the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest-running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world. The Eagles beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road down in Tampa Bay at Raymond James Stadium by a score of 31-25. Wow, we're going to get into this game. The Eagles are 4-0 on the season. Jalen Hurts, 18-0 over the course of his last 18 games that he has started and finished in those games. I'm Jeff Warren, and I'm here with my good buddy, Len Hunsicker. Len, man, a tale of two halves for both the Eagles defense and offense specifically, but we're going to get into our themes here, buddy. Do you want to start us off? One of your biggest takeaways and themes from this game?
Just the whole kind of tale of two halves thing. You mentioned the offense, the fact that they were so heavily outgained. I think 376 to the Bucs for 200 to the Eagles.
Yeah.
And then it just got to a point because they did show a thing towards the end of the game of that the Buccaneers, all three of their wins so far this year, had come in the last minute of the game. So you see the momentum firmly on Tampa's side. And you see that little graphic, and you're like, shit, here we go.
Yeah.
So
right.
because everything that the Eagles were doing, it felt very much like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah.
I want to, I don't know, eventually talk about the play calling at some point because I think it's getting a little predictable.
Yeah.
I think that they go to Saquon way too much for a team that has two number one receivers.
Yeah.
I think they're predictable. I do. So yeah. And not to say there weren't some nice plays because that the touchdown that Barkley had out of the tush push formation.
Yeah. The fake tush push
was great.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome, but it just feels like they forget that they have wide receivers sometimes.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, the wide receivers were targeted in this game, especially AJ Brown. He was targeted 9 times, only came down with 2 balls for 7 yards.
Not a great game for him at all.
No, not at all. But I'd like your theme to start this out. The fact that the old sturdy of this Philadelphia Eagles team over the past year has been Saquon Barkley, and the fact that we know what Saquon did last year. And I was one of those people, along with our friend Brandon Lee Gowton from BleedingGreenNation.com on our preview show, who said, you know what, we think that Saquon Barkley can replicate what he did last year. We're some of the only folks out there that actually thought that he could replicate what he did last year. I remember you saying, yeah, it's going to be really tough to do. And you know what? It is. It's really tough for him to do that because at this point,
everybody's keying on him.
Exactly. I mean, in this game, he only had 43 yards on 19 carries. Yes, he had that touchdown off the fake tush push, but only 2.3 yards per carry, Len. And coming into this game, he was only averaging 3.3 yards per carry. Yeah. This isn't the same Saquon Barkley, and something needs to happen with the play calling on this offense. Like you said, it's a great theme coming out of this game.
Especially once you lose a guy like Lane Johnson. We have to talk about that. I know Steen got dinged up for a play. I know he came back, but and then just that style of play in that weather. I know we're used to, okay, we got the lead late. We're just going to grind these teams into a fine pace with Saquon and the offensive line. But when the offensive line is dinged up and Saquon has run the ball this much, and it's 100 degrees on the field, that's going to take something out of your offense too, not just the defense.
Absolutely. You know what? Getting into the play calling too, I didn't think we were actually going to get into this right off the bat too, but the one thing that's extremely frustrating, and it sounds like they lost the game the way we're talking here. Negative. Yeah. But the plays, like the third down conversions that we just did not see in the second half of the game. Yes, they're trying to get the ball to AJ Brown. Again, he was targeted 9 times in this game. And a decent amount within the second half, but they're not getting him over the middle of the field. It's outside the numbers consistently. And if you're consistently being defended well outside the numbers, I don't understand why the play calling continues to go in that direction. You got to go over the field with some either some slants, some mesh concepts, or just some intermediate routes that's going to end up netting you at least maybe anywhere from, 8 to 10 yards. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's I think that they found themselves in this game and in, maybe one or two others in a lot of third and obvious passing situations.
Yeah.
Because, Saquon's getting 2 yards on first down and 2 yards on second down. Suddenly it's 3rd and 6.
Yeah.
I think that's a thing that's beginning to happen a little bit more than I would like to see.
Absolutely. Look, mentioned some injuries. Want to mention those right off the bat. You mentioned Tyler Steen. He went down with a knee injury. He did come back with a sleeve on it. Going to have to monitor that for the future. Lane Johnson going out with a stinger in his shoulder. Fred Johnson came in, looked very serviceable just from the naked eye, what I saw.
Yeah.
Jalen Carter, he also went out with a shoulder injury in the fourth quarter, but he came back in. That's another injury that we're certainly going to have to monitor as well. But yeah, let's go back to the beginning of this game, Len, if you don't mind. Okay.
Yeah. Started off great.
Yeah. Eagles really setting the tone to start the game. First big play by the Eagles was a punt block, for a touchdown on the Buccaneers' first drive of the game. Eagles defense stopped them on third down. What an incredible block by Cam Latu. A great pickup by Sidney Brown to return it 36 yards for that touchdown. And I'm thinking to myself, man, they had two field goal blocks last week to end the game, one of those field goal blocks for a touchdown, and then this play. And I felt like if there is a way to win or get the advantage in a football game, the Philadelphia Eagles, they've been getting it done, whether it's to start the game, whether it's to end the game. Then you have Jihad Campbell coming up with the interception in the fourth quarter to, I don't necessarily want to say seal the game for the Eagles, but it was a play
to get that
needed.
stop.
Yeah. Absolutely. And this team is just finding ways to win. They are making plays when they absolutely need to do it, even when they get themselves into certain situations. That was a takeaway for me with this game. And we're consistently seeing it game after game, Len.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And God, he's such a stud. He just feels like he's always making a big play. And he was part of something that happened in the first half that I think went away in the second half for the Eagles. Was as soon as the ball got to the Buccaneers players in the first half, boom, somebody was on them. Like the Eagles were on their offensive players immediately at the point of contact as soon as the ball got to them. And that by and large felt like it went away. The tackling went away a little bit in the second half. And again, I don't know if the weather, plays a part in that a little bit. Maybe the guys in Tampa are used to it. I mean, to me, I think so many of these football players nowadays are from Texas or California or Florida and places where they should be used to it. But what do I know?
Right. Still, look, a lot of these guys, that I don't want to say that they're babied necessarily, but they're catered to a lot in the league in different cities, in different atmospheres and environments. But I think that's a very good point you make.
Yeah. And I think the Eagles did try to, just real quick, I mean, they did try to alleviate that a little bit. I know they got down there a day earlier. They talked about the precautions they were taking with the shading on the sideline, the extra IVs and hydration and all that stuff. But it is what it is once you actually get into the game.
Yeah. Let's get into another theme, and that theme is Jalen Hurts here. I mentioned right to start this post-game podcast show, 18 of 0 over his past 18 games when he has started and ended a game. And boy, was Jalen Hurts in complete control of the offense at the start of this game. Absolutely locked in. Eagles were cooking. Jalen Hurts was blitzed on 55% of his dropbacks in the first half per Next Gen Stats. He was 8 of 9 of 56 yards and 2 touchdowns on those plays. And it really seemed as though Hurts was really getting to the point where he's just not getting rattled by being blitzed. I mean, we're consistently seeing this week after week. Teams and other defenses, opposing defenses, are blitzing him consistently, but he's been able to handle it. He's been able to deal with this. A very strong first half against the Bucs defense that was very good and strong. Jalen Hurts was 15 of 16 for 130 yards. He averaged 8.1 yards per completion, 2 touchdowns with 140.1 passer rating. He also had 4 carries, by the way, for 42 rushing yards. Now, the second half, whoo-hoo!
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Drastically different. And if you look at that final line, it's hard to believe he had even one good half of football.
Yes.
But, it looked like, one team made adjustments at halftime and the other one were just like, okay, we got it.
They were happy to sit on it. Yeah, they were happy to sit on the lead because in the second half, the first 2 possessions of the game, the Eagles had -2 yards, and Jalen Hurts, getting back to the tale of 2 halves, he was 0 for 7 in the third quarter and then into the fourth quarter with about 12 minutes left. That's horrendous. 0 for 7. How is this happening here? So, I mean, it was really weird. The Eagles offense, essentially the exact opposite of last week's game against the Rams. I mean, the first drives in the second half only netted them 11 yards on 20 plays.
Yeah.
They did have a touchdown, which was the fake tush push, but still, it's the exact opposite of last week against the Rams. And it goes to show that the offense can do it, but they have to remain consistent. Consistency was difficult here in this game for the Eagles on offense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It definitely, I mean, you just, I don't know. It just like, how is this the same team?
Yeah.
That was just out there like 20 minutes ago on the field.
Yeah.
With the way they're playing. And I just think, things are working, going in the first half, but you still have to throw some wrinkles out there for the second half. You have to, they're going to adjust.
Yes.
So have your counters ready. And it felt like that they coaching wise, they had no counters ready for whatever Tampa Bay was going to switch up with in the second half, offensively or defensively.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. Do you have any other themes here? I got a couple more themes that I wanted to get into, but I don't want to monopolize too much. You sure?
Yeah,
okay,
no,
look,
you're good.
Look, I think a lot of positives. I'm going to shift over to the defense too, and then I'm going to go back over to the offense. I think a lot of positives in this game for the Eagles, but the one area, Len, that is becoming, I think, just the biggest concern on this team after 4 weeks is the total and complete lack of a pass rush. The pass rush is absolutely horrendous. It's awful. Nobody's able to get into the backfield and really pressure the quarterback at all. We're seeing it week after week. Ironically, Moro Ojomo, he had a sack on Mayfield in the fourth quarter that really helped this team a lot. There are only 2 sacks in this game, only 1 quarterback hit. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. This Eagles pass rush is pitiful here at this point. And it's Howie's going to need to make a move, I think, because I don't know how long they're going to be able to sustain the, quote, success that they've been having up front. They need to be able to pressure a quarterback in this league in order to be successful. I don't know. It's a glaring situation.
Look at the Super Bowl. That's what essentially, they basically knocked the Chiefs out in the first half of that game with a pass rush, a steady, and you have to have that. And it's funny, you look at like, okay, where are the holes in this team? What do they need? Down the road, they're going to need to replace Dallas Goedert. So you need to look at who's your tight end in the future. Coming into the season, oh man, we need a quarterback too, or corner on the other side of Mitchell. We got to have another outside corner. We clearly don't have that. Now, okay, well, with the first round pick, do we go with an edge rusher? Because we need one.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny when they did the graphics for the game in the beginning and they're doing the starting lineups. They basically had the Eagles in like a 3-4, and their entire defensive line was defensive tackles.
Yeah.
It was Ajomo and Carter and
Jordan Davis.
And Jordan Davis. Yeah. And it was like, that's how they're lining up. But that just goes to show Nolan Smith being out for a while. That's going to hurt.
Yep.
But they have to find an answer somewhere, because that is absolutely going to bite them in the ass at some point in the next couple weeks.
Yeah. Nolan Smith probably not back till week 10, something like that. I think, after the bye week. So look, when it comes to the defense too, I do want to mention some good stuff too. Quinyon Mitchell just all over Emeka Mbuka. The first 3 targets, Mbuka only caught 1 ball for 1 yard. I got to mention that Cooper DeJean just had a tremendous game. We're talking pass breakups by these guys. They were playing physical. They were playing really close to these defenders, really not letting them get too many steps on them. Yes, we did see Jihad Campbell, he completely whiffed on that Bucky Irving touchdown, and I know that there was the other 70 yarder.
I can't remember who was on him though.
Well, that dude. Okay, so that was enraging. In the third quarter, that touchdown, some of the worst defense I think we've actually seen from the Philadelphia Eagles in quite some time.
They looked like a missed assignment, I think.
Makuba looked horrendously lost on that play. Like, he could have stopped the touchdown, but he was utterly clueless about what was happening around him. I'm not sure if he thought if Reed Blankenship tipped it or something, or actually made a play. Just overall horrendous defense.
He looked like a rookie.
Makuba. He did.
Yeah.
He absolutely did. Yes, he did. But from a defensive perspective, it kind of was a mixed bag at times. They gave up some big plays, but they also made some big plays too.
Yeah.
Again, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, definitely some of the MVPs, I think, of this defense. But really quick, getting back to the offense before we go to break here, buddy, I really wanted to highlight the fact that, one, there was no tush push in this game. We did not see it once. It was nice. It was a fake tush push, right?
Yeah.
But Dallas Goedert's first touchdown of the game, and also his second touchdown of the game, that 2-yard flip pass to Goddard, his first of the game. I think most of us thought that we were going to see the tush push at that point, but they had this 4 wide receiver bunch set to the right of the formation. I'm like, what the hell is this? I have never seen this before. And it was just a flip pass to Goddard for a touchdown. It was a cool looking new play.
It's a nice little wrinkle.
Yes, absolutely. And then Dallas Goedert with his second touchdown. The last time he had 2 receiving touchdowns in a game was back on December 5th, 2021, when he had 2 against the New York Jets. Gardner Minshew was actually the quarterback in that game. But I like the fact that we had those little flip passes. We were talking about how the offense needs a little bit of creativity and a little something new in here. I'm really glad we saw that. They still need some new stuff for sure. I mean, absolutely. But I just wanted to mention that. I thought that was actually good and positive to see in this game. And again, I feel like we're talking like this team lost this game.
And it's a good way to get Goddard involved, where like it feels like sometimes, maybe it's a little tough to get him involved, and that's a good little thing down at the goal line you can do to get him kind of maybe going in the offense a little bit. So this game, probably because of the way it unfolded, is going to sound like a lot more complaining than it should. But there's legitimate concerns, and I'm happy that they're banking wins, because there is going to come a stretch in this year, especially if injuries, pile up, and if, the play calling kind of doesn't get ironed out a little bit, where, they're going to drop a game or two here, and it's just get them while you can get them. Get these wins while you can get them. You have the Broncos coming up. That should be an interesting game. You also have in your next 4, you have 2 against the Giants, who I don't know if you saw, but I think Malik Neighbors got hurt.
Oh yeah, his knee. That's an ACL injury. Probably
that is a gigantic loss for that team. Unfortunately,
congratulations to the Giants and the Jets for having some of the worst turf in the NFL and one of the richest cities in the world. Congratulations, guys! What a bunch of idiots.
But I'm not a Giants fan by any stretch, but you want to see elite players play, and that's what I think Malik Neighbors is, and so that's going to hurt them, man, big time.
Absolutely. Really quick before we go to break, and if you have any other themes that you wanted to get into, Len, I mean, at this point, A.J. Brown, he's got 151 yards on the season after 4 weeks. It just stinks. And then you see, you have a talent like Devontae Smith, who only had, coming into this game, had 129 yards. And then you can add on his 29 yards to that. We have elite wide receivers on this team.
Yeah.
And the quarterback has not been able to get them the ball, whether it's play calling or what the hell is going on. I don't know.
It's kind of funny because if you look at, just based on what we think we've seen in these 4 games, as far as stat lines go, if you go on footballreference.com right now and look at the Eagles season thus far, and you look at Hurts and Barkley and Smith and A.J. Brown, and you look at their stats so far this season, you got to be like, how the hell is this team 4-0? Like their big guns aren't really racking up numbers.
Right.
So it's a strange thing. They're just winning in weird ways, I guess.
I guess it goes back to that point that I made earlier too, where whether it was like the blocked field goals or whether it's Jihad Campbell's interception, if there's a way to win or to get the advantage within the game itself, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're getting it done at different times during the games.
Which is funny. I hate to use this term right away with the Eagles because I don't feel like they've won enough to warrant it. But you see it with dynasties, and it's called, I was thinking about it because I think of a team that we watched last night that doesn't have it in Penn State with James Franklin. There's a thing called championship DNA. And there's a thing also called, the opposite, whatever the opposite of that is what Penn State has in big games against unranked teams. But this is the exact kind of game I'm talking about, a championship DNA where in the second half, let's be honest, the Eagles at times looked like they had no business winning this game.
Yep.
But you just find a way to win a game that maybe you shouldn't have, and you get away with some. And that's what the really good to great teams do, and that's what the Eagles did here.
Great way to end this first segment, unless you have any other themes you want to get into, buddy, before we get to break and before we do some grading.
No, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. Yep. All right. Well, let's get to break, folks, here. If you're new to watching us on the YouTube, like and subscribe to us. Really, like that video. Share it with your friends, family, folks who are Eagles fans. We greatly appreciate it. We are on various social media sites as well. Search out the Philadelphia Sports Table. You can also search out myself, Eric. Len, bless his soul, has been off social media. His mental health has been a lot better. But we are going to take a break now to pay some bills. We will be back in just a bit. All right, we are back, and we are going to be grading what we saw by unit with this Philadelphia Eagles team as they, again, beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers down in Tampa Bay by a score of 31-25. The quarterback position, Jalen Hurts, 15 of 24, 130 yards, 5.4 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns. He ended with a rating of 104.5. He was sacked 2 times, Len. I'm going to give Jalen Hurts this week a B-. What do you give him?
I mean, he did what he had to do early. I mean, he was good early, rather.
Fantastic.
I guess I should say.
Yeah.
And then the second half, I mean, I almost wish we could go through all these units and grade them, give them 2 grades, one for the first half and one for the second.
Yeah.
Can't do that, unfortunately. I'll go B-, and I feel like that's a very generous grade.
It's probably generous. It could be C+, C+. It could be, but yeah. I'm gonna go B- as well. All right. The rushing attack. What could be considered a rushing attack. Saquon Barkley putting up 43 yards on 19 carries. A.J. Dillon putting up 17 yards on 3 carries. Barkley with 1 touchdown. For whatever reason, like we talked about before the break, the running game has not been able to get going at all after 4 weeks. And Saquon Barkley only managing about 3.5 yards, not even 3.5 yards per attempt this season. I'm going to give the rushing a C-, actually, Len. What do you give him? Even with that touchdown.
Before I do that, I hate to like kind of veer off a little bit, but like, yeah. I know you have this amazing weapon in Saquon Barkley, but he is a guy that I feel like they're kind of like last year, ton of carries. Like they have Dillon and they have Shipley. Do you feel like they could use them more? Like,
yes.
You know, just give Barkley a series off and just because, you know, I feel like Dillon gives you the power back and Shipley can give you kind of a shifty guy. Like, and just a change of pace and just take a few miles off of Barkley's odometer.
Yeah. Look, A.J. Dillon he's only carried the ball 6 times this year, but he's averaging 4.8 yards per carry. There's something to be said for that.
Let's use that a little bit. So, all right, I'm going on a tangent here.
That's all right.
You know, Barkley had the game he had, like you mentioned, 43 yards, 2.3 yards a carry. Hurts, I think, did a very, you know,
he just a running back position.
Moving around.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at the rushing in general.
Yeah.
Okay. Running back position, then C.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I did C-, C for you. I think it's very fair. All right. Let's move over to the receivers. Man, it's tough when you're only putting up 130 yards total receiving when you've got talent like Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goedert. Yes, Goedert did have 2 touchdowns, but again, only 8.7 yards per reception for this receiving core. You got John Mechie as well, who was targeted twice. He came down with 10, or he had 10 yards as well. It's just so frustrating. The passing game is frustrating this season in so many ways. So I'm actually going to give the receivers this week a C, and it might not be their fault completely, but they're going to get a C. What do you give them?
Yeah, this definitely is going to be a game that A.J. Brown puts in the, the career highlight reel for sure. Overall, I mean, if you want to take Dallas Goedert out of the mix there, it was the very definition of pedestrian. And this is what has to get better. And if you want to get Saquon going, this has to get better because otherwise there's no reason for defenses to worry about it. I mean, they're going to continue to sell out on Saquon until this gets better. I will go C-, and Dallas Goedert brings that grade up a lot.
Okay. I think that's fair. And look, I'm going to get into him when we're doing the offensive grading or the offensive coaching grading. But Kevin Patullo, I do not believe is necessarily helping things with regard to how this offense is running.
They're not all in sync yet.
Yes.
I mean, you can tell, and maybe by the end of the year we'll kind of be like last year when, like, oh, remember after game 4 when we were all worried, and then LOL, we went on a run and everything was fine. Hopefully that happens, but it's a first year offensive coordinator. There's no guarantee that's going to happen.
Right. Offensive line, I'm going to give him a B, could be a B minus. Hurts getting sacked 2 times. There's some injury stuff going on with Lane Johnson. Tyler Steen went out, came back in, but not the strongest in terms of the rushing attack either. I mean, they got to open up some holes for Barkley, and they really haven't been able to do that successfully over the past 4 weeks. So, I mean, I'm going to go B minus with the offensive line. What do you give them this week?
I thought they gave Hurts, a couple nice pockets to work with, especially in the first half. But things kind of deteriorated, and really, I'm a lot more concerned about the health than I am the grade at this point in the way they played. Just because, man, Lane Johnson is not a guy that they can afford to lose for any stretch of time.
Yeah.
So in this one, I'll go C+.
All right, sounds good. Let's move over to the defense. Defensive line. The pass rush just is not getting there. Moro Ojomo with 1 sack, and I'm trying to see who the other sack may have been.
Zach Bond.
Zach Bond, that's right, Zach Bond. So that being said, I'm gonna give him a C. I'm really disappointed with the pass rush, just what the line has been able to do. Now, have they been able to clog up the inside in general? Yes, Bucky Irving did have 63 yards on 15 carries, 4.2 yards per rush today. But look, I don't know. I'm just getting a little tired of watching this defensive line. And look, the talent is the talent. So I'm going to give him a C. What do you give him?
Yeah, the numbers are pretty gross. 1 sack from the defensive line, not a lot of quarterback hits at all. The 1 for Ojomo, and that's it for for the whole team. So there you go. D+. Not a strong effort at all.
I'm going to be giving the linebackers, even that, like Zach Bond, certainly getting the job done in this game with 8 total tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss, which was the sack. But in terms of the like Jihad Campbell having a nice day with the interception, of course, 1 pass defended and 4 total tackles. I'm going to give them probably a B+ this week. There were some missed tackles here and there. Zach Bond, though, I mean, he definitely is a stud. We know what type of player he is. Jihad Campbell made some really nice plays in this game, but also gave up a huge 2-yard touchdown to Bucky Irving.
And that's going to drag the grade down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give him a B- this week. What do you give the linebacker core?
I think that's fair. I mean, the Campbell play, that was bad, giving up that long touchdown. But he did have an interception at the end. He had 1 play in the first half where, I mean, he ran right through Bucky Irving, and I thought he had Irving out of the game with that hit. The one thing I will say, like, we've been negative a lot today, and I know I remember the days when I used to pine for 1 good linebacker, and now we have 2, so it's pretty awesome to have that. That said, I think B- is a fair grade.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Let's go to the secondary. Secondary was kind of like up and down, I thought, throughout, but I really do. At the end of the day, I'll say this too. Keely Ringo stinks, by the way. He is a big time liability when it comes to tackling. My gosh, the other D-backs, not good. Not good outside of Quinyon Mitchell. Holy freaking crap. So I got to give the secondary, and especially Makuba, giving up that touchdown to oh my gosh, why am I forgetting his name? Oh my gosh, Emeka. Yes. So I'm gonna give the secondary this week a B- as well. What do you give them?
I mean, I thought Mitchell had a really good game as usual. DeJean had a couple nice plays as well. But Ringo, it's rough. I will say that I think on Campbell's interception that was deflected by Reed Blankenship.
Yes.
So
Reed
I want to
played well.
Yeah, and I want to give him a little bit of credit there. Yeah, Makuba, that's a bad misread there on that. So yeah, that's all got to factor in. I'm going to give him a C in this game.
C. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Let's get to the coaching and offensive, defensive, special teams unit, special teams. I mean, I gotta get. I mean, except for at the end of the game, dear freaking Lord, the safety with Braden Mann. Oh my gosh, what the hell is going on here?
I mean, if it runs those last 6 seconds off the clock, because if you punt it they run it back, then this is a whole different tune.
I know.
So whatever you got to do to get those 6 seconds off the clock. I mean, unless this affected your gambling, I don't necessarily have a gripe with it.
Okay, sounds good with that. I'm going to give special teams this week an A, simply for them really getting the tone going to start the game with that punt block for the touchdown. So I'm going to give them an A. What do you give them?
Yeah. I will give them an A-. I thought that was obviously a huge play. I thought Braden Mann, outside of his running exploits, I thought he had a really nice day punting. Elliott, made all the kicks he needed to make. Nothing, crazy. I think Shipley had one nice return at one point. Actually, him and Bigsby each had a nice return.
They did 39 yards for Will Shipley. Yeah,
I think special teams is by far the best part of their game today.
Yes.
So yeah, I'll go A- there.
Very good. All right, Vic Fangio and his defense, boy, up and down again. Kind of a tale of two halves, or I should say, tale of maybe just two situations that this defense gets themselves into every now and again. I'm going to give Vic Fangio this week a B-. What do you give Vic Fangio for his defensive coaching?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. I don't know if that thing with Makuba is if that's him, if that's the coaching scheme that happened.
Yeah.
It just looked like a team that ran out of gas.
Yep.
And fortunately they had built up enough in the beginning to hang on. It wasn't the greatest game. I'll say B- for defensively.
All right. Kevin Patullo, Nick Sirianni, the offensive coaching this week. Again, like I mentioned before, Kevin Patullo, I think, is having a rough start to his tenure as the offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, and we need to see more creativity. We saw some of this game, like I mentioned. The flip passes to Dallas Goedert was great.
Yeah, those are great. The fake tush push. I mean, there were great individual moments, but you mentioned the word consistency earlier in the show, and yeah, I think we need to see a lot more of that if we're gonna, God, I'm about to say something stupid like, oh, if they're going to be, yes, they're going to be a contender either way.
Yes,
but if we're going to really feel good and like, all right, we are hands down the favorite in this conference, like we need to see more I guess that's what I'm looking for term wise.
If they have that championship DNA that you were talking about,
then
we got to see it.
That consistency has to get better. And again, we were here after game 4 last season, so I'm hoping this is just a team that, maybe every year they just got to work out the kinks throughout the course of the season, and then they get rolling.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I mean, the grade that I'm going to give the offense here, it's going to be a B-. What do you give them? I mean, it could be a C+, to be honest.
I'm going to go C+.
I'm going to go C+, because, you rattled off some of the team stats to start us off. I mean, when
they're not great.
They're not. 200 total yards of offense. That's not good. It is not good. So, yeah, C+ could be even generous, I think, here. All right, folks. Eagles postgame analysis here at the PST Podcast Show. Again, the Eagles beating Tampa Bay Buccaneers here in Week 4 by a score of 31-25. I think that's going to do it for us, buddy. Do you got anything else before we head out here and before we digest this even more this week?
I mean, it was kind of nerve-wracking and all that stuff, but 4-0 is 4-0.
Absolutely. Great way to end this Eagles postgame podcast show. We're gonna head out right now and go back. If you're watching on YouTube, check out some of our recent shows. If you're listening on any audio podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, you can go back and listen to some great shows and content as well. It's going to do it for us, folks. Week 4 in the books. We'll be back next week. We got great content coming up this week. We'll catch you next time.